fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very good evening, May the 4th, 2025. My name is Raj Amir. This is a Reticent 9 transmission. Just say some last minute hellos to a few people who are just joining me. Jax and Shepherd's Crook. Nice. And indeed, Glory. We must all vote. That's a good place to start, as much as any. I'm still working off a rigged system. It's my friend Louise. Louise, remind me, I've got to drop you a message tomorrow. I need you to need some help with someone who's reached out to me. So I think you're just the person. And indeed, yeah, just a little bit late, but it's no problem whatsoever. I'm still working off this jerry-rigged sort of system here. So if it goes, my apologies, but it's been okay. It's been holding up. And just some housekeeping updates. A few of you are late today, aren't you? It's normally me who's late, or maybe I'm running on time, and you all anticipated me being later than usual, and that's not what's happened. Okay, so I'm on Sonia Poulton tomorrow morning, about 9 o'clock, 9:30, I think. Sonia has been very supportive of me for some time now, and she posted about haircut is what that is. It's I don't know about nicer. It's getting greyer, but I've still got hair. It could be worse. It could be much worse. So Sonia's been supporting me for some time now. So she got in touch, and I will give my views and opinions on the Lucy Powell stuff to Sonia tomorrow morning. I think 9:30. So if you want to listen in, please do listen in on that. And I'm also going to be doing something with Nick Buckley. He's got a new radio show, I think, or some sort of web show, radio show. He's launching on Wednesday, so I think that's Wednesday morning. I think it goes out live. So I will be doing that with Nick on Wednesday. So by all means, if you want to get involved and in some of that, please do listen in. And any more updates before we launch into today? There's a reform branch in Barrow reached out, and I think the secretary was surprised I got back and said yes. My offer is genuine to people. If you belong to a political group like a branch somewhere, Reform, I'm not really bothered. Conservative, you can be, you can even be Labour if you wanted to be, and you wanted to know more about the cover up of the grooming gangs and what's really taking place from my perspective, then absolutely I will get in my car and drive wherever in the country I need to drive to come and speak to you for a couple of hours. My only ask has been that you pay for my tank of fuel, and that you have a room booked with maybe 20 people or so and more, and then it's worth everyone's while, isn't it? And I'll host a live Q&A workshop, all completely free. The ask was for my fuel, but a kind gentleman from London contacted me a couple of weeks ago. He was in South Africa at the time on holiday with his wife, and he heard what I was doing, and he's sent me over some money. So I think he sent me over £500, and I've put that to one side for the equivalent of 10 times me going and having this conversation with people. So the first 10 tanks of fuel are paid for. So what's, the lady in Barrow who got in touch with me was surprised. No, I am what I say I am. It's as simple as that. I'll get in a car, I'll come over and I'll speak, and more than likely I'll drive back. I don't need you to put me up overnight. And if I need a driver, I'm sure one of my friends will come with me, and he'll drive back, and we'll stop at a service station. So absolutely, that is a free offer. There's no charge. I am 100% community funded. See, I posted this in the. You can't see it, can you? It's this way. It's a Vimto. It's a Vimto bottle. So I said, yes, please send it, and I will happily. Is that me volunteering as designated driver, Gary? Is that what it is? And your wife will be looking at me through. Yeah. You want to go to Barrow? Well, you can come to Barrow, mate. I think the date is sometime in early July. So that's where I'm up to. And thank you, Ian. Yeah, you did indeed buy me the. You sent it arrive. The chocolate didn't arrive. I'm afraid it melted. Just so you know, I tried to eat it, but it wasn't. It wasn't for. But it didn't manage to travel. Right. So yes, is that the housekeeping? Yeah, that's done. Yeah, Sonia Poulton tomorrow morning. Nick Buckley sometime Wednesday morning. I'm off to Barrow to speak at one of the events, and the offers there to anyone else. And the first 10 are paid for by a lovely gentleman who's sent over. Sent over some money for me for the tanks of fuel. So there you go. I need to put this up and have a chuckle. I don't do a lot of Oldham stuff, but every now and then I think we all need a chuckle. Now this is the Fatima Women's Association. Thank you so much, Jane, for the super chat. And yes, please, I'll do my spiel in a bit, but thank you, Jane, for the super chat. They did you watch it? Did you he recorded 3, I think, Denise, and I think he's only put 1 up so far. He's been busy as well, hasn't he? So I'm sure the other 2 will be up sooner rather than later. So let's see. Let's wait and see. I enjoy traveling around, and I enjoy meeting people and speaking to people, and more people can judge for themselves, aren't they? Well, can't they? How much I'm telling the truth, or I'm something else. You can decide for yourselves. I'm too old to care. This is the Fatima Women's Association leaflet that's gone out. Violence Reduction Unit, OGC, all some sort of sports stuff. Oldham Athletic are in the corner. Free event. These are the speakers. A Labour Party in the main. Now, what you've got to understand with this, and it's hilarious, isn't the event. And I have no issue with Fatima Women's Association. But by the way, back in the day, I worked with them. They are what they are. They have these gatherings. I don't think they have gatherings where they'll talk about the rape gangs in the Pakistani community, but they have these gatherings. But I want to draw your attention to not just Arooj Shah, who's the leader of Oldham Council, and Shelley Kipling, but the samosas and the chutney refreshments. And they've got it samosas, pakoras, and more. So, why do I want to draw your attention to this? 2 reasons. First of all, Arooj Shah has complained, put a standards complaint in last year against Councillor Lewis Quigg. He's the Conservative, who's the most outspoken on the rape gangs and the council corruption. And he made reference to mango chutney in his post in terms of condiments, marmalade, mango chutney, and so on was his list of things. Arooj Shah put in a complaint, standards complaint, saying, and stood up in the council chamber and said mango chutney is racist. So clearly there's chutney of some form on this on this Fatima Women's Association leaflet, so I'm not sure what the racism there is. But if one of you were to submit a Freedom of Information request, and I know we need to do the workshop, I will. I promise I'll get to that as soon as I can. If one of you were to submit a Freedom of Information request to Oldham Council, you find out that they've spent, I think, from what I've been able to work out, £10,000 or more on bringing in lawyers trying to prosecute Councillor Lewis Quigg, internally sanctioned Councillor Lewis Quigg, for making reference to mango chutney. According to Arood Shah, it's racist. Well, is the Fatima Women's Association racist for putting a picture up of samosas and multiple chutneys? I'm not joking, mate. That's exactly what happened. And if that wasn't enough, I know tens of thousands of pounds were spent trying to take an injunction out against me by Oldham Council's now interim borough solicitor, rewarded, Alexander Bogotoff. We call him Backdoor Bogotoff, or Baby Oil Bogotoff, if you want. He was a male model at one point, and a bodybuilder or something. So, Backdoor Baby Oil Bogotoff, I think sounds about right. His lawyer's extensive list of complaints about me was my referencing samosas. Really, they were going to try and take an injunction out against me because I would reference samosas and question whether people enjoyed nibbling them. Well, if the Fatima Women's Association now have got refreshments, including samosas, pakoras and more, is nibbling samosas something you want to see the council spend £10,000 and more trying to take an injunction out against a member of the public? Yes, even food is now racist. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Backdoor Baby Oil Bogotoff. We laugh because that's how we get through this. Okay, I want to move on to something very serious, but before I do, please, if you are finding value in this work, I try and come on every Sunday. In fact, the truth is it's more than once a week, isn't it? It's at least 2 or 3 times a week. I put on various transmissions and workshops and stuff. It's all completely free. There are no paywalls, no restrictions, and all I ask people to do is like the content, share the content if you have the courage to do so and find value in it. And if you can afford to do so, and even if you can't, please subscribe to my newsletter, redwallandtherabble.co.uk. It's very, very straightforward. It'll take you 2 seconds. I'm trying to get to 10,000 there. I'm at just over 3,000 now. And I'm thinking, if I can get a newsletter, it's my website newsletter. I put out a lot of content, decent content, all of this stuff written up properly, with everything linked in a way that makes sense. The videos edited down. I know a few of you complain about the length of the videos and stuff, and you'd prefer presentations and stuff. I'm afraid I come on, I put some stuff together, and I just talk in front of a camera, and it's worked for us so far, and that's what I do. I'm not of the TikTok generation, I'm afraid. So the best I can do is on the website, Red Wall and the Rabble. Please subscribe to it. It's 100% free. If you want to pay, you can pay. It's £3 a month or £30 for a year. You can pay a bit more if you want, or you can just have it for free. But we really, really need the numbers, and without the numbers, it becomes really difficult for us to grow and raise awareness. This isn't really a financial thing anymore, because I had lost 300 subscribers when I put everything free to air, and a few months were very, very scary. But I think a couple of weeks ago we due to your kindness, 300 new people and more came back and took up paid subscriptions, and I'm back to where I was, which is somewhere just somewhere between minimum wage and a bit better. I know I've just had to pay out £6,000 for a new computer and setup, but even that people have kindly supported me to fundraise towards. So I'm not a man who needs a lot of money anymore in my life. I've got a daughter that I'm raising, and that's the extent of what I do. And as long as I can keep a roof over my head, I'm content. I am on Rupert Lowe's inquiry team, and those of you who followed my work will know the first thing I insisted with Rupert Lowe is that I would take no money whatsoever. I'd take no payment for my time, because I am supported by you, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to all of you who do support me, and I'd like to increase our numbers on the webpage. It makes a difference. It does make a difference. It's made a massive difference already in terms of just awareness and pressure. Someone put something up earlier about keeping the pressure on. Where do you think all of this is coming from? Where do you think this pressure is coming from? If it wasn't for our community, what's taking place nationally would never have happened. And it's no disrespect to Maggie Oliver or Sammy Woodhouse or any of the others who've worked on this. It's because we made this political, and we've been completely relentless. And we've educated people. We've gone on a journey of education, and it's worked. We've now got opposition ministers almost word for word echoing what we talk about. So, and the way in which we talk about these issues, and it's not happened by accident. We set about trying to do this, and we've transformed. We get to win, but we're winning, and it's because of you, and because of this. A corner of my living room with a Lego collection, and we're here. So please. Okay, we've all heard about ICSA, yeah? The independent inquiry into child sex abuse, and the government applauded it and say ICSA's done this and ICSA's done that. I will do a separate critique of ICSA at some point, and thank you, Owen. I will do a separate, and sorry Ada, I never got to say hello to you, so thank you to you as well. So thank you as well. I think I put it up. I will do something of ICSA separately. But you will have seen how the government have been, holding ICSA up as the shining light. And we've done this with ICSA, and we've done that with ICSA, and attacked the Conservatives. You never did this. You never did that. I'm not here to defend the Conservatives. I'm not a Conservative. I want to show you this. Sorry, I'm going to look at the screen to change. I've got one of these things. They're called Stream Decks. I don't think you can see it, but here. But it keeps resetting itself for some reason on this strange rig setup I have. So it's a bit slower than usual what I'm doing. So what they didn't tell you is, the ICSA recommendations, the one to do with compensation schemes for survivors. One of the key recommendations under ICSA, well, the government has scrapped this aim because of the costs involved. So that's what's happened because of the costs involved. And I'll play it. You listen to it.
Marie was abused at a convent in Merseyside when she was just 6 years old. Now, age 71, she's still fighting for compensation.
She would get in my bed at night and say, well, this is how you kiss a man. And so she would force herself on me, put a tongue inside my mouth. And she's saying, and you do this and you do that. And I thought, is this my life now?
Police investigated claims of abuse at the convent, which has now closed. But in 2016, a suspect died before charges could be brought. Marie has received an apology from the Catholic Church, who ran the home. She tried to sue them, but her claim was rejected because it was filed too long after the abuse. The government is changing the law for sexual abuse victims trying to sue for damages. Previously, people had to make a claim before they were 21. With that time limit removed, it could open the gates for victims making claims. But campaigners worry that when it comes to historical abuse, institutions will still argue that it's impossible to have a fair trial and will fight to have the case thrown out of court. The president of the Association of Child Abuse Lawyers says this is one of the reasons why a national compensation scheme is needed.
I feel let down that a Conservative government would bring in a redress scheme for the victims of child abuse, and a Labour government have dismissed it. Whilst I welcome the change in the law to abolish limitation, there are many other ways in which a child abuse victim can lose in the civil courts, whereas with the redress scheme be quicker, much more straightforward and much more likely to give justice to the victims.
The independent inquiry into child sexual abuse gave 20 recommendations, including a redress scheme. Scotland and Northern Ireland have both opened up compensation schemes for people who were abused as children, paying hundreds of millions of pounds to victims. In 2023, the Conservative Home Secretary committed to one for England and Wales, but now it's quietly been ruled out. The latest Home Office report on tackling child sexual abuse says the government is not currently taking forward any further steps on the inquiry's proposal for a separate national financial redress scheme for all victims and survivors of child sexual abuse. We recognise that in the current fiscal environment, this recommendation is very difficult to take forward. For adults who experience childhood abuse, compensation is more than just financial.
The money is about justice and about all the other people who have had to suffer this. It takes something out of you, and you're not the same person. You can't be.
The government says they are delivering recommendations from the independent inquiry, but with no compensation scheme, victims could still lose out. Alice Porter, Sky News.
Okay, so there you see the government is wheeling back on one of the main ICSA recommendations, which is a redress scheme, basically compensation for survivors, and they've decided, no, we're not doing that. It's going to be too expensive. I'm not joking. So the Conservatives committed to it, and Labour have cancelled it, and that's a compensation scheme for survivors of child sexual exploitation, child sex abuse. These people do not care about your children. There's no ifs, there's no buts. That's exactly what is taking place here. These people simply do not care. Let's move on to Andy Burnham. So you will have followed how I did a critique on Groom, the national scandal, last week, and Andy Burnham. We've been putting pressure on Andy Burnham right from the outset. I've been putting pressure on him today. He's still hiding. He's been posting today about trying to take credit for launching an inquiry, an assurance review. We all know the assurance review is a cover-up, was a cover-up, has been from the outset. This is the letter that was issued by Andy Burnham following the Channel 4 documentary last week. I'll read it. Last night's documentary, Groom, the national scandal, was harrowing to watch. It laid bare the failures of the authorities at the time to protect children and brought home the full human impact of these appalling crimes through the words of the victims. These same systemic failures were exposed in 27 by a previous documentary, The Betrayed Girls, which led me to commission a wide-ranging independent review into historic child sexual exploitation in Greater Manchester. I'm not sure what was wide-ranging about his review. I know it was a cover-up, and Maggie Oliver's come out since and ripped him to shreds again. Following the first report on Manchester in 2020, GMP launched Operation Green Jacket, which led to the reopening of 2 of the cases featured in the documentary. Three reports have now been published, also covering Oldham and Rochdale, and new investigations have led to 89 arrests and 71 years worth of convictions against abusers in the region. Just yesterday, 3 more suspects were arrested in Oldham as part of GMP's Operation Sherwood. The review has led to a new inquest being ordered for Victoria Agoglia, the 15-year-old whose death is the catalyst for the whole process and who was mentioned by one of the survivors on the programme. Investigations into historic child sexual exploitation are hard to conclude, and the programme rightly highlighted the frustration of the victims. We acknowledge that more needs to be done to support them and to bring more perpetrators to justice. The final part of the review, launched in 2027, will be published next month. It will give a clear opinion on whether the Greater Manchester public can have confidence in the arrangements to protect children today. So that's something he launched in 2017. Will conclude in 2025. So that's 8 years of cover-up, 8 years of delaying, 8 years of kicking it into the long grass. I've always been open about the limitations of a local process of inquiry. Absolute lie. He has never always been open about the limitations of a local process of inquiry. That's an outright lie, which cannot compel those in authority to give evidence. He's never raised these issues when the Oldham review was taking place. That is why, alongside these local processes, I believe there is a clear case for a national inquiry focused on the accountability of decision makers. So now he wants a national inquiry, not into the grooming gangs. He wants a national inquiry focused on the accountability of decision makers. So what does that mean? It means Andy Burnham has switched sides and is now agreeing with Raja Miah and the rabble. Nothing like a politician and their ability to try and look after themselves. He's been part of the cover-up. I've challenged him outright. I will see him in court. I will see him in a public inquiry. I'll testify against his review process. And now he's backtracked completely, reinvented history, always been open about the limitations, absolute nonsense. Never has been. It's only after January. And now, in posh terms, he's agreeing to a national inquiry focused on the accountability of decision makers. That means those who were involved in the cover-up. The only other bit I want to pull out from this is spin. This is what political spin looks like. New investigations have led to 89 arrests and 71 years of convictions. What does that even mean? I've never in all my years measured convictions and accountability by the number of arrests made and the total number of years of convictions. First and foremost, I want to know how many people have been convicted. He doesn't say that. 89 arrests does not mean 89 convictions. And 71 years of convictions could be as simple as 4 people or 3 people. And the 3 more suspects were arrested in Oldham as part of Greater Manchester Police's Operation Sherwood. So we're clear. My haircut and my grey hair. And this has not only, well, it's definitely aged me. The truth is it nearly killed me. Operation Sherwood would never have existed if I and my team had not relentlessly campaigned the way we did for 5 years. Operation Sherwood only came about as a consequence, as an attempt to massage what had taken place in Oldham to say we've launched Operation Sherwood, because when we started speaking out, it was barefaced lies. So if you're arresting anyone in Oldham as part of Operation Sherwood, arresting anyone anywhere as part of Operation Sherwood, you need to know of the sacrifices made by so many people to get this far. And as I reflect on this, this includes friends of mine who are no longer with us. Warren, George Hayward, Lee Cook, Karen Dickinson, Anne from Shaw. There's so many people who've died on this journey. But right until the end they fought. And now you've arrived. And we are so grateful. We are so grateful that so many people from across this country and further are now helping us, leading the fight in areas we have no interest in being gatekeepers and saying me, us. The more of you, the merrier. And the more people adding pressure, the more difference it makes. So thank you so much. I want to bring up what Maggie Oliver said. Let me just find her Twitter page. Just give me 1 second. In response to Andy Burnham, I think you'll find it of value. This is Maggie Oliver's Twitter page. I don't know what happened there. Find her again. I would like to respond to Andy Burnham's statement below following the Channel 4 documentary Groomed, a national scandal, which was aired on Wednesday. Firstly, even though you are still trying to make more political capital out of Victoria's death at the hands of one of her abusers, and the fact that you tried to demonstrate just how much you supported Victoria's grandma and would get justice for her by a new inquest in 2020, over 5 years later, this has still not happened. You see, he's saying new inquest as it was happening. Well, that new inquest has been 5 years and still hasn't happened. These aren't my words. These are Maggie Oliver's words. Furthermore, you and your team and Assistant Chief Constable Sarah Jackson of Greater Manchester Police said when challenged that there was wraparound care for Grandma Joan Agoglia, now in her 80s and very frail and almost totally blind. I subsequently received a phone call asking me for her address and phone number. If she had wraparound care, how could that happen if 5 years later you still don't know her address or phone number? That's the question. I visit Joan and she hasn't a clue what's happening. It seems to me you are just waiting for Joan to pass away and then this inquest will never happen. It was a total cover-up the first time and I see nothing to reassure me this is any different. Secondly, HMIC FRS, that's the police lot, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of something to do with the Chile police forces, were brought in last year because the original review team resigned because they were being blocked from every angle from talking to victims who had not only been failed in the original inquiries in 2025 and 2005 and 2011 and 12, but as the documentary showed, are being failed yet again by Operation Green Jacket. Operation Green Jacket, what Andy Burnham is saying is great. 6 years they have been left dangling, and we have still not seen anyone charged. Oh, whoa. Operation Green Jacket has yet again failed. 6 years they have been left dangling, and we have still not yet seen anyone charged. So the whatever many arrests he made reference to in his letter, 89 arrests and 71 years of convictions. It's got nothing to do with Operation Green Jacket, according to Maggie Oliver. Who do you believe, Maggie Oliver or Andy Burnham? Survivors who are totally willing to cooperate are further traumatized, and some have been dropped yet again, as was I after one hostile meeting with the SIO, Senior Investigating Officer. So Maggie Oliver has been dropped by Operation Green Jacket as well. And I am a professional witness to what happened in relation to the police officers identified by Steph. Shocking. So that looks like the police officers who were involved. Remember, Groom, the national scandal, made reference to police officers involved, or at least a single police officer involved in the rape gangs, in the Pakistani rape gangs. The original review team knew exactly what dark corners to look in, as they had spent 6 years analysing the home system, exposing Rochdale and Augusta failures. And it is totally scandalous that they haven't been included in this new inquiry, which I believe will be another whitewash, as was ICSA into organised networks, i.e. grooming gangs. So that's Maggie Oliver confirming ICSA was a whitewash. Raja, you're aggressive, you're angry, you don't have to play the game. Here's Maggie Oliver. Clearly finally lost her patience. Saying these things in the same way I have been. But it's far worse, isn't it, when it comes from Maggie Oliver than Raja Mir. This isn't the duty of candour you frequently talk about, Andy. It's political manoeuvring. I've seen it all over the past 13 years, and political point scoring will not solve this national scandal. Criminal and private prosecutions for those in high places who deliberately turned away is the only way to bring systemic change, in my opinion, so that those in office today will never again fail to protect children they know are being raped because they see them as worthless, and also don't want to rock the multicultural boat nor invest resources into these cases. Maggie Oliver avoids making reference to the multicultural stuff. Here she is openly using the term rocking the multicultural boat. Criminals, inhumane, neglectful, and quite honestly wrong. She goes on to say, ask people to support They Knew, and you should support They Knew if you can do so. And it has to be a private prosecution because the CPS will never prosecute those who they'd rather protect, I'm afraid. It's the junior officers at the bottom of the chain who will be occasional scalps, and it's not their fault. And so there's no ambiguity. The Crown Prosecution Service in our country were complicit in attempting to maliciously prosecute me. They did not look at the evidence against me before making charging decisions. And of course the evidence was fabricated or didn't even exist in any form, which is why after spending hundreds of thousands of pounds trying to prosecute me, the CPS's cases, each of them collapsed. The CPS are involved in the cover-up of the rape gangs. And Maggie Oliver is confirming it. The CPS will never prosecute those who they'd rather protect. That's her words. It's the junior officers at the bottom of the chain who will be occasional scalps, and it's not their fault. Action, not words, and empty promises is what is needed, and posts like yours here are now seen right through by the public, who have seen through the propaganda and are demanding action. And it won't go away this time, I'm afraid, Andy. Acknowledging more needs to be done just isn't enough. You are the Police and Crime Commissioner, and it is your duty to ensure it is, as in more is done. That's Maggie Oliver ripping to shreds Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham and outright calling him out. She's clearly lost her patience. And she's, just in those couple of paragraphs, also demonstrated yet again the deceit that comes from these Labour Party politicians, including Mayor Andy Burnham. Now, I'm not like this. I've just called him out. He's neck deep in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children, and he should be put on trial. 8 years, his investigation. You all know what the plan was. It concludes this year, and that's it. Lessons have been learnt. But unfortunately, it blew up on a global scale in January. And thank God it did. Because now his plans are ruined. Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much. I would like to believe that he will face his judgment in both this world and the next, Catherine. I want to bring up Sammy Woodhouse. Sammy is a bit more like me, I think, in terms of her language. I think one of you mentioned your mum's here, so I'm on my best behaviour. I agree with you. You're not going to get me disagreeing with you on this at all. Sammy Woodhouse's post to Andy Burnham. Now you'll recall whilst people rightly praised Channel 4's Groomed, I, as well as praising it, raised how it had avoided the tough questions and it was managed. I analysed it myself. I put it out there. You've probably all seen the video. And if you haven't, it's up there. You can watch it with an article that goes with it. I spent some time writing. And here's Sammy Woodhouse. Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, feels that the latest documentary groomed a national scandal laid bare the failures of the authorities at the time to protect children. Let's be very clear. It did not, in any way, shape or form, expose the full extent of those failures. Who exactly did they name and how many? See? Of course, I fully support all the survivors and their family members for their bravery, which never fails to amaze me. However, the documentary in no way truly exposed the systemic failings that allowed countless children across the UK to be groomed, abused, raped, tortured, trafficked, criminalised, impregnated and even murdered. Channel 4 played it safe as per usual, just like they all have. It's not gone well for Andy Burnham, has it? And I replied to something this morning he put up about how he started this in 27 and, commissioned inquiries and trying to slap himself on his back. And Andy, in case you've missed it, and I'm sure Greater Manchester Police are watching this. Yes, they watch my transmissions on the hope that maybe I say something that leads to my arrest. They've admitted as much. Police officers admitted as much as monitoring what I put out. I'm not joking. So there's no ambiguity. I challenged Andy Burnham to answer a simple question. Is he aware? Was he aware of Greater Manchester Police's repeated malicious attempts to silence me through false arrest, repeated false arrest, because I spoke out against the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of my town's children, and campaigned to hold politicians to account who were complicit in the cover-up, legally, lawfully. Andy Burnham, of course, has not responded. I'll leave it to you to decide whether he was aware or not, in his role as the Police and Crime Commissioner, of what was being done through Operation Hexagon to the leading, or one of the leading, anti-grooming gang campaigners in the country. If you are new to me, and there's hundreds of you watching this evening, thank you very, very much for so many of you who are watching. If you are new to me and you find value in my work, then please do like, subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's all 100% free, but my preference is, if you want to keep up to date with the work, it'll take you 2 seconds. Sign up to Redwall and therabble.co.uk, and in 2 seconds you're on the mailing list. You'll get all the content of all of the work I produced. Again, all of it is completely free and will remain free for till the end of our journey, I think. So please, this is the link, and if you find value and you can afford to do so, I am 100% community funded. Consider buying me a coffee using the link buymeacoffee.com recusant9, or use PayPal, paypal.me recusant9, and help me keep doing the work that I do. Let's move on to something that happened at the elections. Now, there was an election this week, and you are right, Ian. Reform smashed it, of course they did, and congratulations. I put a post out congratulating Reform. I got a lot of a lot of pushback from people who don't support Reform. That's completely fine. I'm not a Reform member. I'm not a member of any political party. My position really was Reform are the only show in town, and we've got to vote. We know we should vote. It's the only way in which we can instigate change, and to go out and vote for change. And millions went out and voted Reform, and they absolutely smashed it across the country, including taking the general election. But closer to home, there was a by-election including taking the by-election in Runcorn. And closer to home, there was a by-election in Rochdale and Kirkholt. My friend Billy was an independent candidate. He told me sadly that Reform wouldn't take him, so he stood as independent. And Reform, of course, won. Billy still got some decent votes, but Reform owe it to Billy, because Billy's a decent man. And I don't agree with all of his politics or his methods, but he's a decent man, and you have to accept that Billy is also a survivor of child sexual exploitation. The Cyril Smith gang, all of that, Billy is a survivor of that. So if he's a bit rough around the edges, well, how would any of you can you imagine how any of me, would be if you've been sexually abused as a child? So I'm disappointed that Reform didn't pick him up, but it's a new party. Maybe they'll pick him up next time, and maybe Billy and Reform will come to some form of arrangement moving forward, because Reform owe Billy Howarth the seat in Rochdale, because Billy was the one who spotted that the bundles of votes that were his in a very, very close election had been moved to the Labour pile. That wasn't an accident. I've seen things like this repeatedly in my short time looking at council elections. You've got to understand the council officers and the staff, they're not all genuinely independent. Some of them have got ulterior motives, and that level of fraud and corruption does take place. Lewis Quigg at the recent election had his votes bundles moved into the Labour pile. It wasn't an accident. He spotted it. If he hadn't spotted it, he would have lost one of the recent elections. So this is what they do. The system is rigged against us at every level, and if we win and come through and get our people elected, we've done it despite them. We've had to work harder. We've had to navigate a corrupt landscape, and congratulations to the Reform Councillor. But I hope you bought Billy a drink and sit down with him. He is of Rochdale. He has value. And if he needs moulding, if he needs mentoring, then someone in Reform should pick that up. And I agree. Gary lost an election very closely with bundles a few years ago. And I think it's very clear something happened there as well, Gary. They rigged the election. I'm out of Vimto. I might have to go and get another Vimto in a second. But no, we want to talk about I want to play a video, first of all, that the Rochdale MP put out after losing.
The Balderston and Kirkhope by-election result means that Reform now have their very first councillor in Rochdale. Sadly, by not voting Labour, those who voted for George Galloway's Workers' Party have helped elect that Reform councillor. Don't get me wrong, the government has to seriously listen to this protest vote and listen to its causes. We always need to listen to voters when they send us a message like this. People want change, and they want change quickly, and I'm fighting hard for Rochdale week in, week out in Westminster to get that change. But I do think that this is a dark day for Rochdale and its hard-won community cohesion, because Nigel Farage and his party want to destroy the multiculturalism and diversity that we're so proud of in this town. Farage and Lee Anderson are no friends of the South Asian community and have no interest in helping people in other parts of the world, including Palestine. Farage has already said he wants an Elon Musk-style cuts unit, and if Reform take control of Rochdale Council, that would mean less money for all community groups. The lesson's clear. In Rochdale, a vote for Galloway's Workers' Party is a vote for Farage.
That is a video put out by Powell, who is targeting the Pakistanis in the main, the Muslims, and is saying Reform are racist, and if you Muslims want protecting, the only people who will protect you is the Labour Party. It's completely, I mean, they're not even hiding anymore, and you should be able to see it more clearly, even if they were hiding. Imagine if a video had gone out by an MP specifically targeting white voters. It'd be rightly called out. Yet here we have, he talks about South Asian communities now. He means the Pakistanis, the Muslims, the bloc vote. So he's seen the bloc vote go. He's worried what that then means. The bloc vote has been split, of course, along sectarian lines and gone to the Islamists. And he's saying, it's code there and it's there, your community centres won't be funded anymore. You won't be safe anymore. And the racists, the Reform racists will get you. And he's put that out. He's not even hiding, he's put that out. Listen to it again. Just listen to it.
The Balderston and Kirkhope by-election result means that Reform now have their very first councillor in Rochdale. Sadly, by not voting Labour, those who voted for George Galloway's Workers' Party have helped elect that Reform councillor. Don't get me wrong, the government has to seriously listen to this protest vote and listen to its causes. We always need to listen to voters when they send us a message like this. People want change and they want change quickly. And I'm fighting hard for Rochdale, week in, week out in Westminster, to get that change. But I do think that this is a dark day for Rochdale and its hard-won community cohesion. Because Nigel Farage and his party want to destroy the multiculturalism and diversity that we're so proud of in this town. Farage and Lee Anderson are no friends of the South Asia community and have no interest in helping people in other parts of the world, including Palestine. Farage has already said he wants an Elon Musk-style cuts unit, and if Reform take control of Rochdale Council, that would mean less money for all community groups. The lesson's clear. In Rochdale, a vote for Galloway's Workers' Party is a vote for Farage.
Did you hear that? Protest vote. We need to listen to your causes. It's a dark day for community cohesion. Reform want to destroy multiculturalism and diversity. There'll be less money for community groups. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. They are sowing division here, and are making sure that no matter what, Reform will be portrayed as the far right racists. Yes, Ash. And I agree with you. I agree with you. It's the Islamists that want to destroy multiculturalism and diversity. But this is an MP. He's right for the independents, I think, as well, didn't he? Labour Party MP. So that's what I wanted to pick up on about the election. They're very scared of Reform, and I know what they'll do next with all the councillors and stuff. So I'll do that another time. I'll talk about what will happen to Reform and its councillors. Okay, what many of you have been waiting for. We will now move on to Lucy Powell. Now I have to be very clear from the outset. Lucy Powell was my MP. I've met her. I lived in Ancoats for a while and she was the MP. She campaigned openly, lobbied, worked with McMahon to try and smear me. To do with the schools, but I owe her no ill will. She was politically doing what she thought she had to do and supporting her mate. And she moved on to be, when got in power, become leader of the House of Commons. I mean, I've sat at a table and had breakfast with Lucy Powell. But right is right and wrong is wrong, and what Lucy Powell has done as her career has progressed, sadly, is increasingly lost whatever humanity she had. And what she said yesterday was not something in the heat of the moment. I think what she said yesterday is an accurate reflection of the dark place her soul has ended up in. Let me play it first. We listen to it and we critique it.
You saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
No,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
Okay, Lucy. Yeah. The councils, there were so many people who were so afraid for good. Can I just finish the point just for 1 minute?
Finish that point, Tim, and then I'll bring in Helen.
Look, there were so many people in local government, in the authorities, who, for good reasons, were worried about upsetting community tensions, that those girls went undefended. Now, there were good reasons, but no one has still been brought to justice for that. So you tell me, Lucy, that this isn't a culture in local government. It's just not true.
Dear. Helen Morgan?
I think it's a total failure to understand how local government operates, actually.
Okay, I'm going to play that again. I want you to not just listen to her words, because her words have been written and shared. I want you to hear the flippant... hear her tone. Let me not put words in your mouth. Hear the manner in which she speaks. Not just what she says, but the manner in which she speaks.
You saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over this.
We want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue...
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?
Okay, Lucy. Yeah. The councils, there were so many people who were so afraid...
Sorry, I was trying to play it again.
You saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over this.
We want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue...
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?
Okay, Lucy. Yeah. The councils, there were so many people who were so afraid for good... Can I just finish the point just for 1 minute?
Finish that point, Tim, and then I'll bring in Helen.
Look, there were so many people in local government, in the authorities, who, for good reasons, were worried about upsetting community tensions, that those girls went undefended. Now, there were good reasons, but no one has still been brought to justice for that. So you tell me, Lucy, that this isn't a culture in local government. It's just not true.
Dear. Helen Morgan?
I think it's a total failure to understand how local government operates, actually.
Okay. I think it's very, very clear. The dismissive tone, the contempt. She shared what she was feeling. And the tone and what she was saying is a reflection of the Labour Party. And what the entirety of the Labour Party are up to on this. Now, I shared a piece yesterday, and I'll just talk you through it so you understand it, of what it is that I was making reference to. Because words matter. And the meaning of those words matter. You need to understand. Some of you may already understand the exact meaning of those words and what it amplifies when used in the context of the rape gangs. If you do, please bear with me for a moment whilst I explain to everyone else what this is what's going on here. There comes a moment when the mask slips, when the carefully constructed political facade crumbles and the public glimpses the truth behind it. For Labour's Lucy Powell MP, that moment came during BBC Radio 4's Any Questions, when she was asked whether she had seen the Channel 4 documentary exposing the industrial scale sexual exploitation of vulnerable white working class girls by Pakistani rape gangs. Her response: "Oh, you want to blow that little trumpet now, do you? Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?" This wasn't a gaffe, it wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was a revealing moment of political instinct, and one that laid bare the contempt held by parts of the Labour Party for the victims of these appalling crimes. Calling it excuse me. Calling it a little trumpet is not just flippant, it's sinister. Powell is diminishing the scale and gravity of the rape and trafficking of over 100,000 girls as if it were nothing more than an irritating noise. In her worldview, the abuse of white working class girls is a minor nuisance, an inconvenient topic to be dismissed, not a national scandal demanding action. Little trumpet. That's the context of what that term means. Even more revealing is a reference to dog whistle. In political language, you need to understand this. A dog whistle is a coded phrase intended to signal something controversial or bigoted to a specific audience. It is used to dismiss someone's argument without engaging with the facts, accusing them of racism without directly saying so. Powell was not just sidestepping the question, she was implying that merely raising this issue was itself an act of prejudice. This tactic is well worn. For decades, Labour politicians have wielded the accusation of racism to deflect legitimate concerns about rape gangs, protecting voting blocs from within their Muslim communities, all at the expense of voiceless victims. Powell's words weren't just dismissive. They were a signal to her allies, to her party's base. We will protect you. We will smear your enemies. We will bury the truth if it threatens our power. That is little trumpet and dog whistle and the context. That's how you weaponize language and how Labour trivializes the truth. Rose is here. Hiya, Rose. You can mention Rose, by all means, message me if you want, and I will, of course, sit down and have a cup of tea with you. Sorry, just checking my phone. My daughter's messaged me. Of course, it's Bank Holiday Monday because it's well past her bedtime. Yeah, it's a bit more sinister. A bit more sinister than that. Let's hear what other people have had to say about Lucy Powell. Apparently she's apologised, but we'll go on to that in a moment.
That no stone was left unturned. To look again to make sure that no stone was left unturned, and we've also given victims the chance to go to the independent panel for them to look at things if they don't think it's been investigated. That used to be the case for historic cases. We've opened to all, so we do take it really seriously. Yeah, we're not afraid of pointing out where there have been particular ethnic factors in some of these crimes, patterns in communities. We're not leaving any stone unturned here.
She's apologised to save her own political skin. If this was a Tory and you were in opposition, you'd be calling for her resignation within minutes. Point one. Point two, she should apologise to Tim Montgomery and the grooming victims.
Well, as I say, she's apologised very publicly. I think it's a sincere apology. I was in touch with Lucy last night. I think she's genuinely sorry. And I happened to pass Tim Montgomery this morning in Sky to pass that on as well. So, it's, as I say, we're all human. We do make mistakes. I've made mistakes in the past. I'm bound to make mistakes in the future. When we do make mistakes, it's important we just own it, apologise and move on. And that's what we've done.
All right.
So if you make a mistake, like Lucy Powell did, if you accept it was a mistake and I don't accept it was a mistake. I expect what she said exactly what she meant. You apologise, you own it, and you move on. No. You're held accountable. Lucy Powell is one of the most powerful politicians in the country. She holds a very symbolic role as leader of the House of Commons. If she has no accountability, if one of the most powerful Labour Party politicians in this country is not held to account for what she said, then it has repercussions on the survivors. And I believe survivors, wherever we go, will refuse from coming forward and testifying when this is what one of the most powerful politicians in the country believes. So I do not believe we'd agree with Wes Stretting on this. You do not apologise, own it and move on. There have got to be consequences for your actions. Listen to this.
Apologises.
Comments on grooming gangs. Do you think she should resign?
I think Lucy has been very clear that she apologises for what she said on Friday night. I can hear from what she said and how she said it. She did not mean it how it came across, but the right thing to do is to apologise. I know she's had casework on grooming. Sadly, we all have. We know how serious this issue is. I think the most important thing now is to see what Louise Casey, who I think many of us recognise as a deeply respected civil servant, comes back with in her audit about what is going on. Because I hear and I understand the concern about what's happening. Do we learn the lessons? Were there cover-ups? And there clearly has been evidence of people not proceeding with investigations out of misplaced concerns. But we need to understand what happened as a result of the first national inquiry, and we need to understand why in different local authorities are getting different results. So I think Lucy must feel awful because she has been very clear that she apologises if she caused any offence. The most important thing now is to get to the bottom of what is happening and why still people don't feel confident, and particularly I'm thinking about the victims, having talked to victims of this, that there is a serious plan in place to stop this.
A serious plan to stop this, and why are victims concerned? Well, victims will clearly be concerned, Stella Creasy, because one of the most powerful politicians, your friend Lucy Powell, leader of the House of Commons, is claiming, speaking about it, is racist and belittling what has happened. She did not mean how it came across. Well, actually, how do you know she did not mean how it came across? So we accept it came across the way we think it did. That's Stella Creasy's exact words. She did not mean how it came across. Well, that's how it came across. So what did she mean? No. She's a politician. She's one of the most senior MPs in this land. She has a command of English. She understands the power of words and the way in which you communicate them. She meant every word. She meant every word. Stella Creasy also says, we all know how serious this issue is and about casework they've got. Well, if you all know how serious this issue is, why was your politician Sean Fielding in Oldham claiming it was all barefaced lies? And even in January, Keir Starmer making reference to a far-right conspiracy. A far-right bandwagon. Yeah, was that not January? And you all, of course, not all, but vast majority of you, voted against the amendment for a public inquiry. No. And was it a sincere apology? Let's have a look at the apology. This is the apology. She had 2 goes at it, by the way. This is a second version she didn't delete. In the heat of discussion on AQ, any questions, I would like to clarify that I regard issues of child exploitation and grooming with the utmost seriousness. I'm sorry if this was unclear. I was challenging the political point scoring around it, not the issue itself. As a constituency MP, I've dealt with horrendous cases. This government is acting to get to the truth and deliver justice. That's not an apology. I'll tell you what she's doing. Faced with public outrage, this statement issued by Lucy Powell on X is the classic politician's deflection, the non-apology. I'm sorry if this was unclear. I'm sorry if this was unclear. Translates as, I meant what I said, but regret the backlash. I was challenging the political point scoring means, don't dare question me. I'll question your motives instead. But what political point scoring was she referring to? Being asked if she'd watched a documentary about the rape of children? It was a straightforward question. Her answer was what politicised it. Now, she knew what she was doing. It is a non-apology. And don't you dare question me. And if I'm unclear, well, that's your fault for being stupid. You're the one that didn't understand what I meant. She's turned it around onto you, onto me, onto us. There's no apology there.
The Labour Party has is, of course, it holds lots of these seats that are most affected by this issue, but it has votes, well, there has been some suggestion that they're very cautious to tiptoe around this because a lot of the people from the communities that have been implicated in this scandal are, of course, Labour voters.
Well, I don't think they need to be sensitive about that because I don't share... Clearly, the Labour Party is worried, but, you know, it has an equal contempt for the white working class girls that it's throwing under the bus. It also has a contempt for those Pakistani Muslim voters who assumes that they would be offended by the calling out of rape and grooming. It's actually quite a shocking position that they've got themselves in. You know, people in those communities are overwhelmingly horrified by these crimes. So, yeah, I ditch the sensitivity, get tough on it. They don't, you know, they don't carry a candle for these evil, evil men. It's just a bizarre position.
And, of course, politically...
That is a man called Fraser Myers. And they're all sat there on the couch. And he's claiming, I mean, I'm just finding it, I'm just looking at him. And despite this claim, whatever his experience is, my experience is that Pakistanis are not overwhelmingly horrified by the rape claims. And it is wrong by Fraser to claim otherwise. The simple truth is that there are thousands of Pakistani men, many of them related through first cousin marriage, that are walking free, having repeatedly gang raped and tortured children. What these men are involved in is a cultural practice that they brought to the United Kingdom with them, having done the same to the Bangladeshis in 1971 and the Sikhs and Indians during partition in 1947. The history books will confirm the figures of gang rape and torture are over 1 million girls and women. Successive generations of Pakistanis have used rape genocide as an instrument of war. Each time, their actions have been legitimized by the Pakistani regime through a combination of racism towards those that were gang raping and religious endorsement. These beliefs have never been challenged, either inside the UK Pakistani diaspora, as far as I'm aware of, or by the UK government. And I challenge you to find if they have. Sadly, this form of lazy commentary is what happens when men who really have no idea what they're talking about sit with each other on comfy sofas and pretend they have an insight. They do not. If you follow my work, you will know that GB News nor any mainstream media outlet have ever interviewed me. I imagine they have been warned off by their lawyers, because I take this to a place from where there is no coming back from. So no, Fraser, the vast majority of Pakistanis are not overwhelmingly horrified by the rape clans, and I'll quantify it. If there's any doubt, I'll quantify it. Because if they were, the Pakistanis would be marching on the streets in their tens of thousands in the same way they march about Gaza and Palestine. If they were horrified, they would care about what happens in the very communities in which they live, rather than events thousands of miles away. They would be marching on the streets of Oldham, Bradford, Rochdale, Rotherham, Telford, Oxford, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, Newcastle. At least 50 places they'd be marching on the streets horrified. Have you seen marches on the streets? No. None whatsoever. This is Marlon.
Just what do you make of what Lucy has to say, and how are you feeling about it?
Good afternoon. I'm furious. You know, I've been campaigning now for a couple of years for a public inquiry, and it just confirms to me, I think the mask has slipped now, of what the general opinion is of Labour MPs. And I'm lost for words yet again. And I've been overwhelmed by other survivors contacting me. We're appalled. She should resign. Or if not resign, the Labour Party should at least suspend her and do a full investigation.
Why do you think she did say it? I mean, she said it was in the heat of the moment, it was a debate. I mean, are you swallowing any of that?
No, she sounded very passionate. I'll give her that. But no, not at all. All it's done is confirm to me what is being said with the Labour Party in closed rooms about the grooming and about the inquiry. You know, it's the second time this week that we've been insulted. We was insulted in Parliament with Nadia, another MP. And I guess in some ways it just confirms my paranoia about Labour Party. Sorry.
Go on, Marlon, go on.
So, you know, one of the things is, and I've asked this before, if they are serious about an inquiry, why hasn't Keir Starmer met with me? I've asked for this. And it's not about working against the government, it's actually working with the government.
What reaction, when you asked for a meeting, when you asked to talk to them, when you asked why there is no national inquiry, what reaction do you get, Marlon?
The reaction I get every single time is the throw the ICSA report at me, saying it's already been done, we've got the ICSA. One of the issues I have with the ICSA, for people who don't know, it's mostly white institutes, what they investigated, like Church of England or Jimmy Savile, and they only use 3 areas for what I call street grooming. which had low ethnic populations or mostly white or rural. So I find that an insult when they throw the ICSA report at me.
Why do you think Labour are behaving like this?
I believe, I think it's two things. I think it's about being politically correct, but I think the larger part of it is, if you look at this, they're all Labour-run councils. And I can experience in Tameside the cover-ups that they've done with my daughter. And they don't want to open that up because it will destroy the party.
Meanwhile, your daughter and the rest of the victims are still suffering and you still haven't had justice.
Exactly. You know, and it's not just about my daughter. Obviously, that's my priority. It's about the other thousands of girls out there that their lives are destroyed. These girls are so unwell from their experiences as children.
Yeah, it is appalling. Marlon, thank you very much for talking to us. Really appreciate your time, and good luck.
Okay. So, Marlon and I've never met the man, so it's not right for me to say we don't get on. First, I came across Marlon. They're from Mosley, I think, Mosley and Scotland, so where I live. So I supported and promoted the horrific things that happened to us and tried to get the story told as far and wide as possible, like I do with all of these things. And by chance, I discovered he'd blocked me. He put a comment on, I think it's January or February, defending, I think it was Andy Burnham or Jess Phillips. She was definitely defending Jess Phillips. And he's clearly on his own journey. I don't care. If he's blocked me and he can continue to block me, that's completely fine. He's on his own journey, and now he's finding out the Labour Party have betrayed him, have lied to him, have deceived him, and this is where he is. And he agrees with the need for a public inquiry, right? He's got criticism of the ICSA report. Well, if he reads the ICSA report and understands some of the context that's not in the report, so there's another, few weeks of reading for you, Marlon, to work around that. You'll find that there's a whole host of other things that went on with ICSA. For instance, I think they went through 4 different chairs. One after another quit because of fears of corruption and cover-ups. These are the chairs of ICSA, by the way. So he's on his own journey. But he was asked why, and he came up with 2 reasons. One is something about political correctness. It's a lazy, honestly, it's a lazy conclusion to get to. I was scared of being called racist, or no. The more I've looked at this, that's not the reason. I'm clear. Children were exchanged for votes, and there were decisions made where white working class girls were deemed to be a price worth paying. And then he also talks about these were Labour Party councils and they don't want to go over because it'll destroy the party. Well, let's be very clear what we mean by that, Marlon. Find some courage. What you mean is that senior Labour Party politicians will be exposed in the cover-up. It's going to destroy the party. It means senior Labour Party politicians, and I've named them and I've been naming them for a number of years. But hey, I would never want to go through what he's gone through with his daughter. So if it helps, mate, carry on blocking me, carry on abusing me, trying to sideline me, makes no difference to me. And if you can do what I do, take over. Absolutely take over. Robert Jenrick ran to be... Sorry, I'm not getting all of this in. This is Robert Jenrick. Ran to be leader of the opposition, leader of the Conservative Party. I saw this post and I cried. I'm not joking. I saw this post and I cried. One of the most senior politicians in the country has said this. There's 2 bits to this. This is an empty apology because Powell is not sorry. Her remarks will stop survivors coming forward out of fear of being called racist. She won't be fired either because Starmer agrees raising the rape gangs is a far-right bandwagon. So people are beginning, like Jenrick, are beginning to understand what's going on here. But this is the bit I cried out. Labour are part of the cover-up. One of the most senior Conservative politicians in the country has now put it in black and white what we've been saying for 6 years. The Labour Party is part of the cover-up. And of course, when we talk about a party being part of the cover-up, it's not a machine that's part of the cover-up. The Labour Party is made up of individuals. Councillors, council officers with loyalty, MPs, government ministers. So there we have it. Robert Jenrick has admitted that the Labour Party are part of the cover-up. And sorry, I'm just looking at this. Some of your comments and some of you are bickering. You want to bicker, go and bicker somewhere else. I don't know what's going on, by the way. My setup isn't set up in a way where if I'm looking at the chat, I'm looking this way. As you can see, I can't see it the same way. This is a momentous step for us. Robert Jenrick MP has publicly stated that the government, the Labour Party is the government is part of the cover-up. And in case anyone was feeling any sympathy for Lucy Powell, there's two little clips I want to play. One is she attacked Suella Braverman and wanted her sacked, and this is what she had to say not that long ago.
Despicable. We all know what she's up to. Despicable. We all know what she's up to. It's naked. Instead of sacking her, the Prime Minister cowers next to her. He's cowering next to her today too. She's out of control. She's utterly irresponsible, undermining the police while stoking up division ahead of a difficult and important weekend. She's unhinged. I asked the leader today, does she agree with her that the police officers are playing favourites in this case? But the Prime Minister is so weak, he can't rein her in.
That is to do with the pro-Palestinian protest and the two-tier policing, which I think now, well, I'll let you decide if Suella Braverman was unhinged in calling out the two-tier policing. So that's her. And this is a comment she made back in 2013 when she was in opposition. Horrific details of systemic child abuse in Oxford, resonance with cases in Rochdale, Rotherham and elsewhere. Issues need wider inquiry now. Of course, at the time, the cover-up of Operation Augusta was in full flow and complete in Manchester, but she makes no reference to Manchester. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Lucy Powell, and I think this adds context, it's another layer. And all of this is layers and layers and layers. Lucy Powell came in as MP for what was Manchester East, I think, and Coates, when Tony Lloyd moved on to be Police and Crime Commissioner. She was elected with the lowest turnout since World War II in a Labour Party stronghold, but she came in after Tony Lloyd. This is the same Tony Lloyd who went on to become Police and Crime Commissioner and was involved in the cover-up of the gang rape of children in Oldham, whereby he was involved with Jim McMahon in censoring and silencing Hughie MacDonald. And this is the same Tony Lloyd that now Simon Danczyk, former MP for Rochdale, has confirmed was approached by Tony Lloyd and told to keep quiet because it will affect the Muslim vote. What Lucy Powell said There is no ambiguity. She was merely saying what the Labour Party believe. This is what the conversations they have behind closed doors when you and I aren't there. We will never get a public inquiry under the Labour Party. We'll never get any form of fair inquiry that will get anywhere near the truth. She should resign, if for no other reason than as an acknowledgement that her continuing role in a senior position in government, having said what she's said, will only alienate survivors who have already been repeatedly failed. Number 10, of course, have backed her, and the BBC have been mobilised to protect her. So please do keep the pressure up. If you have found value in this evening, and sorry, I've got to do another hours of editing and chopping and thinking before I go to bed and wake up for Sonia and prep for her in the morning. If you found value, please like, please subscribe. Please consider buying me a coffee, redwall&rabble.co.uk. And sorry, I'm just checking. And they've been I'm trying to find my mouse on my screen. There's been over 3,000 of you who's joined me this evening. If 30 of you had supported me this evening, I'd have been overjoyed. I can count on one hand, on the fingers of one hand. I'm just looking. Thank you so much to the 4 or 5 of you who've supported me this evening. I'm very, very grateful. Hopefully I'll see you all soon. Have a good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.